Today we're going to be talking about Beyond Meat. The stock has been hugely requested by people on our in our comments, so we're going to talk a little bit about the company in this video. Okay, so let's start with the quality of the product, like the taste of it and what it's made from, and then we're going to go into the financials later on in this video. So I watched this Mark Rober video where he actually went to the Beyond Meat headquarters and he went to the Impossible.
Sorry, who's Mark Rober?
So Mark Rober is like this popular YouTuber. I think his video had 50 million views where he interviewed Bill Gates and they both went, they were trying the Beyond Meat burger. So in the video, this guy Mark Rober went to the Beyond Meat headquarters and the Impossible Burger headquarters to see what type of ingredients were going into these products and to see how healthy it is and basically to, I guess, bust the myths that there are behind Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat is made from like mainly pea protein, whereas Impossible Burger has soy in it. So I mean, I'm personally going towards the Beyond Meat one because you don't really want too much soy in your diet for most people. But really, I think Impossible Burger only had 5 ingredients in their main product. It was like water, some like coloring and stuff like that, and they also had this thing called like heme, which gives it that bloody texture or whatever, and I call it schleem because it's got a kind of a weird flavor. Beyond Meat is mainly pea protein, but there are, I think, like 20 ingredients. We have a list of ingredients for the Beyond Meat burger over here. So there's definitely a lot of stuff in there. People, I guess, still aren't sure of meat versus Beyond Meat.
Sorry, is there any controversy on pea? Like, I also avoid soy, though I've heard like mixed things on soy that maybe soy isn't as bad for you as people think. Like there is some controversy on that, but is there no controversy on pea protein, or you just think there's less than soy?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, but like, I guess with all these things, they're all some sort of like refined product. They're not just like eating the actual vegetable. So, and plus, I don't know, they add a whole bunch of stuff to here too. So yeah, there could be, I don't know, nobody really knows.
Yeah, but what I do notice on their list is like canola oil. I definitely try to avoid that. Refined coconut oil. I know coconut oil is good, but refined coconut oil, maybe that's not as good. Then you have the maltodextrin. They also have sunflower oil. So it definitely doesn't seem that healthy. And there was a study, you were saying Impossible might have been a bit cleaner, but there was a study where, I don't know how credible the study was, but rats performed worse after they having the Beyond Meat. So I think in terms of health, the verdict is definitely, I would guess, slightly negative right now on, is this actually healthier? Perhaps it's definitely better for the environment. So that's a good argument for them. I don't think it's questionable that there's no question about it that when you don't kill animals, it definitely takes a lot of less space and is definitely a lot better for the environment for this, but that's not necessarily the only criteria to look at.
Yeah, and so in the video, he gives the burger to his nieces and nephews, and they tried, and they can't tell the difference between a regular burger and this burger. So like, I mean, I was pretty excited when I saw his video, and I went in to go try it, but it's not exactly the same. There's definitely like this schleamy aftertaste. What did you think about the burger when you tried it?
Yeah, I mean, I put it on a veggie burger scale, so I didn't have it. So on the veggie burger scale, it was like a solid 8.5, maybe even 9 out of 10. But on a meat scale, it was, a 5 or something. Nothing to write home about, but it definitely was at least somewhat on the meat scale, I guess.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting because we'll see soon the size of at least the meat market. But if they want to go after meat, because the veggie burger market's a little smaller, yeah, I think it's definitely better than a veggie burger. But in order to beat meat, you need to be, taste better and be cheaper. Okay, so in this video by Mark Rober, he shows how this Beyond Meat, the way you grow the vegetables for Beyond Meat is way more efficient than eating actual meat from cows or, other animals. So the amount of land that you need to raise your livestock is gigantic. And then not only that, but you need a whole bunch of land for the food for the livestock. And that, that uses a lot of resources, a lot of water. And the food that we eat in terms of vegetables actually takes up a very small portion of land. So I think that's exciting that if you do switch over to vegetable-based burgers, you do help the environment a lot. You need less space. You don't have to chop down the rainforest to create more farmland. And so I think that is beneficial, and that is one of the exciting things. However, people aren't going to just buy it because of the environment. They also want it to be affordable, and they want it to taste great.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think for people the environment actually comes into most people. Like as countries get richer, so like if you're a poorer country, I don't know, think of any poor country, let's say China, as they've gotten richer, they eat more meat. So I don't think the environment criteria doesn't really, at least for now, it doesn't play any factor into the consumer's mind, but it's a nice cherry on top that if they can make the product taste good, you're like, well, I'm helping the environment too. I feel good about that.
Yeah, so there's also other benefits as well. As I said, helping the rainforest. It has some health benefits. They say it should help with climate change.
I feel like that's all environmental though. Like all their
Oh
points
yeah.
are all environmental and then improving health is very dubious.
Okay, so let's turn a little bit more to the financials. So the Beyond Meat, I mean, Beyond Meat's doing very well for the last couple of years. They're growing 164%, as their average growth rate and compounded growth rate. So the size of the entire meat industry is $1.4 trillion worldwide and 270 billion in the US. So they definitely want to go after that market. And I think in order to do that, you need to disrupt it by having a better product. People aren't going to buy something that's worse.
Yeah, definitely. But I also sort of question that if you can actually disrupt such a market with something that's not so proprietary. I mean, I've also watched a lot of people on YouTube make veggie burgers, and to me, you disrupt the market with something, like you could definitely get a lot of market share in a market if you have a better product than everyone else. But if you want to bill yourself as like a tech company or a disruptor, then you need to have some science behind it. So the science behind it would be if they were cloning, what is the technology where they use cells to build
Yeah.
meat out of it? Like that's the technology that can actually disrupt the meat industry because it's proprietary, it's hard to produce. This idea of mixing pea protein with a few other things that a lot of people see your ingredients, it's not very hard for people to copy that. You might have the brand value to grow revenue quicker than everyone else, but you're not going to get 50% market share and 270 billion because you make a better burger than everyone else. Like you're going to be, the best frozen pizza has maybe a 5 or 6% market share. You're not going to get a 50% market share in this type of, with this type of tech.
Yeah, I felt like the taste wasn't exactly there. Like for 3 hours after eating it, I still tasted some, weird kind of chemical flavor after, the schleem flavor. So it's not there yet. And in order to disrupt the industry, like it seems like they have one innovation, which is, okay, we figured out how to make it taste pretty close to meat, but like I want to see them go a little bit further, like changing the types of meat, like making it a stir fry or whatever. That's not vertically integrating and innovating. That's just scaling horizontally. They're like, oh, well, we have our innovation. We're just going to apply it to all these different markets. So that's not really innovative. It seems like they're sort of riding their current innovation. They haven't really done anything in addition to that. Like I'd like to see something that tastes better than meat. And I'd like to see something that's cheaper than meat. When I go to the store, and this stuff is everywhere. It's in every single grocery store. It's in, when you go to the grocery store, you can buy 20 burgers for $20 or whatever. When you want to buy Beyond Meat burgers, it's like 2 patties for $7. Like you might buy that to try it. And I think a lot of people are trying it, but I don't think that's going to be sustainable if you're going to keep the price extremely high. It's very monopolistic a little bit to keep your price extremely high and sort of ride that innovation. Like if they were actually innovating, then the price would come down to actually disrupt meat. It'd be way cheaper. It should be cheaper because it uses 8 times less resources than meat. So you would expect it when you go to a restaurant, it shouldn't be $2 extra to have a Beyond Meat burger. It should be, like $10 less to have a Beyond Meat burger because it should cost nothing to make. And I understand that it's a small company and they need to scale up, but people are saying this is like the Tesla of companies. They need to lower the price constantly if they want to do that to actually compete with meat, which I guess is the oil of our time. So or gas cars. So, you need to really lower the price. Otherwise, you're not going to be competitive.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I don't really think it's like I'm fine with them charging higher prices right now because they're new, they're developing a lot of resources, they're first to market, and I think people sort of are fine paying that price. Just to finish, sort of, if we should buy the stock. So a couple of things. One is like if we just compare it to, let's say, the top coffee brand or something like that. So the top coffee brand in the single serve market, just an example, is, let's say, Folgers has like a 12% market share. I see no real reason to believe, unless you have some killer technology, that Beyond Meat would go so far above, let's say, a 10 or 20% market share. So you have to assume a lot of things. They're kind of telling you the whole market is 300 billion, right? let's say somehow half of that could convert to veggie, and then Beyond Meat would get, let's say, the 20% market share of that. So that's 30 billion in sales, and then like a 20% operating margin is pretty good for a veggie burger. So that would be $6 billion of profit a year. It's pretty favorable assumptions, and right now the valuation is about 6 billion. I guess like the top valuation you could see of the company for me is like if they were to become this sort of behemoth in the food industry, which is hardly assured at this point, would be, I'm assuming so many things. I'm assuming 50% goes from meat to veggie, which is not really that realistic. It probably is 10 or 20%. And then I'm assuming they get the top market share. So from that, it's just, I could see the valuation is probably, you know, like 6 billion is sort of at the top of where I would value it at, probably even a little too high.
Yeah, well, the company has been around for longer. I think it's only been public for a bit, but it's been around for at least 10 years. And so if you look at their revenue growth over the last couple of quarters, you know, they were growing fairly quickly, but it seems like the revenue has sort of slowed down. And I think that's because the prices are still high. Like you're only going to hit a certain amount of, you know, people buying your product. In order to hit the mass market, you need to drop the price below your competitors. And
yeah, well, it's just 1/4 of slower revenue growth, so it's hard to tell. So that's why I'm trying to sort of to say what would happen if, you know, everything went right, and, you know, like how much of that meat market of 300 billion is actually going to switch over. And then I actually think if everyone does switch over, there's still a huge risk of, you know, there might be actually science where people make, you know, meatless burgers. So real meatless burgers, not using soy protein, but actually like their business is already threatened right now, even though they see themselves as cutting edge. Like I'm sure they're investing in the science, but I haven't heard that they're ahead. But it's sort of like Uber. I sort of compared them to Uber, where Uber is developing a new technology right now, but their business model is already threatened by autonomous driving. And this company's business model is even worse because at least Uber was actually a real new technology. This company just simply makes the best, you know, veggie burger right now, or one of the best, I would say. I mean, they're losing, you know, small amounts of money. The belief is sort of, you know, what percent of the meat market do you think will convert, and what percent margins would they get from it? It's just, there's not a lot of room for error at a $7 billion brand at this point. And I guess the last thing would be to add, I don't see this as a tech company. So to give it a tech company valuation, like a lot of people like tech companies because tech has historically been winner take all. And we see this with like sort of Shopify, that a company we talked about in another video, that maybe they do a winner take all sort of, a lot of tech companies have been able to do this advantage, but I just don't see this being a winner take all market unless there's some underlying science behind it. So therefore they shouldn't get this type of valuation.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and please hit the subscribe button and smash the like button to support this video. Thanks so much.